Numbers is the next thing. So as a business owner, and particularly if you're a department manager in property management or a senior property manager, I still think it's very important for you to know the numbers. And looking at the profit and loss statement of your business will actually tell you a lot of stories. And so the simple fact of business is you have your revenue and money comes in. You have your cost of sale, which is what does it cost to get the income to come through? So what does it cost to acquire your new business or new landlord? And that equals what we call, so your revenue and minus your cost of sale, which is what we call our gross profit. From there, we minus our expenses or our fixed operating costs, and that'll include your wages. And then out of there, we get our net profit. And we should all really know what our net profit is when we're bringing on properties and looking at what the gross revenues and components are, especially when we put together a business development plan. And in my last episode, Masterclass episode 1, I was talking about the average annual management income, which is a double AMI index, that we should have a benchmark for our business regardless of the type of property or location, that we shouldn't go below that benchmark on the double AMI. So a few things to be thinking about when you're building your structure. When you're building your plan. The next part is structure and looking at whether you're going to be portfolio-based, are you going to be a pod-based, are you looking at task-based? How many staff members do you need in order to employ in order to grow to the vision of what you want to create in your rent roll as well? And so for me, I found over time, I've been in property management myself for more than 20 plus years. And when I started, portfolio was very popular. Although we've seen a change of that over the recent sort of 5 or 6 years, where we're moving more into different styles suited to the clients and the talent that's in the room. So it's a really important thing to think about the kind of structure that you want to have in your master plan for moving forward and growing your rent roll. And another thing to be thinking about is the capacity. How many more chairs can you fit into your office space? You may have this dream of having 1,000 properties. And I'll be honest, I had a client who almost 12 months ago said to me, Tiff, we're going to grow our rent roll. I think they were sitting on 200 and they said they were going to grow to 1,000 over the next 2-year period. Yet he was sitting in an office space that could accommodate 4 people. And unless there was a plan to be moving and where was he going to be moving, that's sort of something that we're not really planning for. So I think it's really important to also think about the capacity of the number of seats, desks and room that you have to be able to fulfill that vision. Do you need to put it in your budget to move locations to be able to fit more staff members in? Always things that are really important to think about. I want to talk a little bit now just about numbers and capacity to give you an idea of a pod. So with our business, obviously, we're a property management outsourcing company, and we help our property management clients or our ideal clients essentially save anywhere sort of as a starting figure to be about $100,000 on their fixed operating costs a year, and allowing the client to increase their rental portfolio an extra 200 properties without the need to keep recruiting and training more local team members. And so I just want to share with you one of the clients who we've been working with, who was started off as a pod, and then we turned the process into what we call a tripod. So I'm going to run some numbers now. You're probably going to need a calculator and watch this on the replay. But essentially, they had a 400 property portfolio with a revenue or a double AMI revenue of $1,500 per property, which is your gross commission, which on 400 properties is about $600,000 a year. Minus your fixed operating costs, which for most rent rolls started around about $100K, minus the 4 staff wages, which was $240K. The net profit on that rent roll of 400 properties with 4 staff members was sitting at around about $260,000 a year, give or take, obviously depending on location, style, property, and so on, number of employees, staff, bonuses, etc. And then the net property cost was $650 net profit per property in that 400 property rent roll. What we did with that client was we increased over a 24-month period their rent roll from 400 to 600 properties, but we still only had 4 property managers in the rent roll. And what we did was we outsourced and siphoned and rearranged the administration and changed it from not necessarily a pod, because we only ever had 400, and the girls basically worked together on that 400. Now we went to a 600 and turned it into what we call the tripods. So we had our property manager, we had our senior, our junior, and our VA that was attached to that rent roll. So we had this tripod rather than actually a pod with an outsourcing component to it. The additional revenue on this 600 property, plus the need to not have to recruit, train, and hire more staff members locally, plus the 4 property managers weren't highly stressed because we were already taking away about 60% of the administration tasks or 80% of the administration tasks as well. When we looked at those numbers over that period on the same double AMI, so we didn't change our standards of type of property that we were managing, we increased the revenue by 900 to 900,000 a year, still minusing off our fixed operating costs at 100K. Our wages were slightly increased because we added the outsourcing on too, which was 322K, with a net profit of 478,000. That allowed per property a 900 property increase. So from $650 per property per year to $900 per property per year. That was a 138% net profit increase, which bottom line was $250,000 in that client's back pocket of net profit. So that's, everything taken out over a 24-month period. And the asset was increased up to $1.2 million over 24 months. And all they did was bring another 200 properties on board, which is a comfortable number to do over 2 years when you're already at 400, to go from 400 to 600. And they didn't employ any more staff. They just looked at outsourcing as an opportunity. So I think it's really important to look at this as a case study and look at the numbers and really know when you're planning the growth of your business, that is this something that I need to look at as a way to be able to not just increase the income, but also create a more tight-knit and more focused business without too many staff and contain the quality of service that you're offering your clients. That was a huge thing. You probably want to watch the replay on those numbers. But anyway, let's continue on to the second question. A few things I've thrown at you there in regards to where do you want to be around the planning component. Then we have to get just as serious when it comes to where are you now. And so when we look at where are we now, again, I had talked a little bit briefly before about capacity. So how many seats have you got? How many staff have you got? Have you got champions on the floor? Do you have champion property managers in your business? Or do you have three that are great and one that's sort of medium and you're just toddling along for the time being until such time as you might want to change it? These are all the things to not hide from in your where are you now segment. It's really important to pull down your profit and loss statement and start looking at the actual numbers.